Are you serious? Are you serious, folks? Welcome to another powerful broadcast. And our friend Colin Plume is with us, and we're going to need his expertise in this situation. First of all, let me just say to the Russian people, calm down, get a cup of coffee if you need to. But I understand you're a little bit of frustration there because the U.S. sanctions that the president's putting on Russia right now is starting to hurt their economy a little bit. Putin is trying to make up for it, folks, by, he's telling everybody to buy gold. And the other thing he's going to do is raise the retirement rates, taking the women from 55, age of retirement from 55 to 63, and taking the men from 60 to 65. Plus, he wants everyone to buy gold. He says there is a shortage of world gold. I didn't believe it when I saw the article, but Colin Plume is telling me it may not be there's a shortage of gold, but it's a lot harder to get to it. Colin, welcome to the broadcast from Noble Gold Investments. Tell us, what do you mean by it's going to be harder to get to the gold?
Pastor Paul, it's always a pleasure. So in terms of what's happening in Russia, in reaction to the sanctions, they're going to be raising the retirement age, which has happened here in the U.S. They've also been talking about doing it again here, raising the Social Security age from what it is currently to a higher level. And, their retirement age is pretty young in terms of the grand scheme of the world. So the sanctions are hitting. And basically, President Putin, who's been a big fan of gold, they and China have been the largest buyers of gold over the last 2 to 3 years. They're telling their people to buy gold, get away from paper money, and have some gold in reserve for the future and for retirement. So it's pretty interesting to have a government tell their people to buy gold is highly unusual because most governments want you to be in bonds. They want you to be in fiat money, but obviously they predict that there's going to be some problems in the economy, and they want to get people protected.
So, because we already know that Russia owns a lot of gold, and so apparently, with your information that the mining of gold is going to become much more difficult, which I would think that would affect the price of gold. It's got to, if you got the Russians and the Chinese buying up telling their people to buy gold, and then you have a situation that mining the gold is going to be difficult, price of gold is going to be affected, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's called, in the mining industry, it's called peak gold, which basically means that they're having a hard time finding it. They found as much as they can find based on the amount of miners and the amount of people that are actually going out and looking for gold, to kind of simplify the term. Mining has been down for 10 years in the gold industry, so they are having a harder time doing it. They're not putting as many resources into it around the world. Australia, one of the big miners, countries, has come out and said that they're having a much harder time finding gold in the past. And so, there is a limited supply of this gold that's out there. And so, that's why a lot of people are trying to get their hands on it now. Now, ironically, the price with all this happening has still dropped. We're at a very low point for gold. If you talk to miners right now, they'll tell you it is at or below mining cost as of today. So basically, it would be like getting oil for yourself at the price to pull it out of the ground, which would be, a fraction. And basically, if you look at a barrel of oil that they sell on the stock exchange, and you broke that down to the actual costs about $1 to $1.25 to pull it out of the ground. Now, you and I obviously pay, $3 to $4 for gasoline. Right now, the analogy with gold is that you're able to buy it at basically the cost to pull it out of the ground. So obviously, if everyone could if they had a place to put all this oil and buy it at $1.25, they would do it, and they would save a ton of money. And they can do that right now with gold, and it's much easier, obviously, than storing oil and different things on your property.
So right now, I just looked at the price of gold. Brock just posted it a moment ago. Exactly $1,194.55 an ounce. and that's what you're saying is pretty well cost. And I think silver's about the same, isn't it? Running about just about cost.
14, just above 14. Yeah, they both are very low right now, surprisingly low considering everything. But that's what happens when the stock market and commodities typically work in inverse, because you have people that right now are still putting more and more money in the stock market. They're not worried about risk. They're just dumping money into there. But when things turn like it did in 2008, that's when you see commodities really start to take off. You see inflation kick in, because governments, typically when the economy drops, the government will try to stimulate the economy. In 2008, they did, you probably remember, quantitative easing, where they just expanded the money supply. The same thing will happen. When we have the correction, the Fed will come back, they'll start printing money again, they'll expand the money supply, and tangible goods like gold and silver will rise in value.
So I think when you're looking at what the President of the United States, President Trump, which his accomplishments have just been incredible in his first 2 years. But one of the things he's done, he's squeezing everybody. It's like he's squeezing the United Nations. He's squeezing the Russians. He's squeezing the European Union. He's squeezing the Pakistan. And he's trying to draw every ounce of cash out of the world market into the U.S. market. And it seems to be working for us, without a doubt.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he's a business person, so he's a top level negotiator. So he makes nice shaking hands and with everybody. But in the same token, as he's shaking hands, he's trying to get something on the back end, whether it's through sanctions, whether it's trying to reduce our exposure in NAFTA and a number of different organizations that we've been funding, the United Nations. A lot of these organizations are funded primarily by our tax dollars. So, I think what he's done is tried to keep an open dialogue with the world, but also trying to just drop down what we're paying our kind of bottom line, which is exactly why people voted him in office. I don't think there's any reason people, for whatever it's worth, people knew when you're running $1 billion organization, you're thinking about bottom line. And I think that's the thing that he's been able to accomplish.
And so I think if you look at Putin's strategy, maybe, is okay, if he's going to get sanctions from the United States, Putin's saying, all right, I'll tell my people to buy gold. We've already been buying gold as a country. When paper money gets kind of squirrely, we'll have some gold, which will help his currency situation.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing he may be thinking also is, because he's pretty aggressive right now in Syria. They're right now fighting. They're bombing over there in one of the cities there, Idlib. He's trying to secure the black gold, if you will, the oil in the Middle East. Do you see that as part of his overall strategy?
Yeah, he's, when you look at someone like Russia, where they have a lot of natural resources, they realize the strength of that, and that's really a big part of their economy, is being able to control not only large land masses, but control different commodities and different things that people need day to day. And so I think they're just trying to encroach as much as possible, trying to get more oil, trying to buy more gold. They're the 5th largest holder of gold in the world. So, they realize that they can trade and barter. Also, I think with the gold, they are using gold to trade and barter. So countries like Iran that are going through heavy sanctions, Russia could easily trade gold or vice versa for some of their assets if they wanted to do a kind of black market trade. Whereas if they did that transaction in the dollar, it's much more transparent. So that's another reason why countries like gold, it's easy to do private transactions, much more difficult to track because it's just so liquid, and you can move. I've had clients that have moved overseas and they've taken $300,000-$400,000 of gold with them, and it's pretty easy to move. Just imagine if you're a country and you have planes and resources, you can easily make trades with other countries privately. And so I think that's another reason that they're big fans of the yellow metal.
Colin, also, my wife asked me a question today. She said, okay, I see all the different things the president's done. Low unemployment rate, the lowest since, in 18 years. The second quarter, we had a 4.2 growth. They say the third quarter is going to be over 4. I mean, we've just got these. We had, the tax break has done great for business and for individuals. And she asked one question to me. She said, "Yeah, the stock market 25,986 today, up again 33 points." She asked me one question. She goes, "Have we paid down any on the national debt?" And I said, "Heidi, no, not to my knowledge." And she said, "So that's why do you think that is?" And I said, "Well, let's ask an expert. We'll have him on today, Colin Plume. Colin, is that
an unlimited credit card? I think when you're the world's money, we control the world's money. We're the dollar. Our currency is of the world. We can print it at will. We have no real incentive to pay down the debt. And so, and for people that are really wealthy, inflation doesn't make a difference because they're used to borrowing. They're not, people that are very, very wealthy, they understand that you're going to have good debt, bad debt, and they're going to take both. They're going to continue to leverage, and they're just going to keep moving money and keep leveraging themselves to put themselves in a very profitable position. Normal, regular people try to pay off debt. They, put money in the bank and things like that. So these inflation really affects them. But the big wealthy people in the world, they don't care about inflation because they're just going to continue to borrow and grow that way. And so when you have those people in control, there's not really an incentive to pay down that debt. The only reason that we would ever see anything happen is either we were no longer the world's reserve currency, or if a country like China eventually said, "That's it, we're not buying any more of these bonds," and our bond values dropped and our credit dropped, then we'd probably eventually have a serious conversation about the national debt.
I want to ask you a little bit about people's IRA and what they should do with retirement, whether it be their their IRA or it be their 401k. But I wanted to get your opinion on this Nike ad. They lost $4.2 billion yesterday with the Colin Kaepernick ad. Right. And they doubled down today. They're rolling out a television ads now with the same plan. I mean, are they? What's the story with this? This is not a good. It doesn't look like a good financial move.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you do a marketing campaign, you're looking at the numbers, and probably they thought maybe at this point either Trump would be out of the office, or they thought maybe this issue wouldn't be as grand as it is today. But I think that they really made a poor calculated decision in terms of the masses. I think that even regular people believe that we should be supporting, the military. We should be supporting, and I think a lot also just independent of that. I think people go to sports to get away. They want to get away from the day-to-day grind of their lives, and so I think a lot of people didn't want to have this issue connected. So it's interesting. It was a bold marketing move, and obviously early on it's been a big flop, but you can't really tell for a few years if this kind of, obviously they knew they'd get a reaction. I don't know if they thought this would be the reaction that they were going to get.
It's a great point, and I mean, people do go to sporting events to kind of get away, to escape the pressures and the reality of life. They just want to go and chill at the game and yell at the refs and whatever.
Boo, cheer. I think, first of all, a lot of people said this too. I don't know if we need the national anthem before the game. I mean, I know there's a lot of people there, and I don't know if it's the right venue for that. But at the end of the day, it's. I think there's his side is it's freedom of speech. He's exercised that, and then the other side is people can disagree with it. And I think, let's be honest, this is one of the reasons our country is so great. This wouldn't happen in Russia. I'll tell you that right now. They wouldn't even have this debate. Putin would squash this, and we wouldn't even be able to have this open dialogue. So I think it's one of the great things about our country is that we can have people on both sides having this conversation and opening up and having this dialogue. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few months with Nike.
I agree with you. I mean, this is the right. He has a right to protest. The players do. I think it's strange that the NFL, that this issue seems to be the NFL. It's not baseball. It's not basketball. It's those guys, they already know their rules. They set their rule and play, and they go forward. I find it strange that it is football, but maybe there's a reason for all this. And like you said, this is still the greatest country in the world. Freedom still reigns here. You can still voice your opinion, and thank God you can. Now, It's getting a little tougher though out here in the broadcasting world. We have to be a little bit more careful about expressing our opinions totally, but at least this is still the United States of America.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I know you've had your issues, and a lot of people on the social media channels have had issues with expressing their views, and I think that I think we should be able to express ourselves freely, and that's one of the reasons that we support your channel, is because not only are we a Christian company, but we believe that you should be able to talk about anything, which you do, which makes your show fun and exciting. And I think we'll talk about politics, but it's really, that's not the brunt of the show. Is you're just trying to spread the word and spread kind of the love and your ministry out there, and I think that's really great, and that's why Charles and I we're always excited to be on here, and every once in a while you're going to get into a topic that's out there, like the Kaepernick story, and you should be able to express it and have your own views, and hopefully that will continue.
Amen to that. Praise God for that. Amen. All right.
And let's be honest, that's why we came forward with this coin, the Trump coin, and you and I were talking about it a little bit before, and I will tell you two things about the coin that have been surprising. Number one, we've had tons of orders from Canada, tons of people that support Trump in Canada, which, obviously their Prime Minister Trudeau is, on the far opposite side in terms of politics, but there's still people there that like what we're doing here in this country and support Trump. And so, for anyone out there in Canada that does want to acquire it, you can absolutely do that. And then the other place that we've been selling a lot of the coins is California, which I think a lot of people think, a lot of the jokes about California is that, it's a very, liberal state, and in a lot of ways it is. But when you have such a big state, there's a lot of closet Republicans here, and a lot of them will buy coins and say, don't tell anybody, don't tell my neighbors. I want to have this coin for the future and remember, this president and everything that he's accomplished. So I think it's been fascinating that those two places have come to the forefront, and and obviously people are buying them in other states too. But there's people that support this president in every place, even up north and even in California.
I just love it that the Canadians are buying the coin. I mean, here I'm holding it up right here for you folks to see, but it's a beautiful piece. And on the back, it tells about his accomplishments. First major tax reform in 30 years, lowest unemployment in 18 years, the jobless claims the lowest since 1973, and the Dow Jones record high of history. And so you guys put together a beautiful coin. It's the Donald Trump coin 2020, the Trump coin 2020 coin. So you go there to noblegoldinvestments.com. That's www.noblegoldinvestments.com. And if you use the promo code, I think, Begley20, is that right?
I think Paul.
Is it Paul?
Or Pastor Paul or Paul. Any of those should they'll save $5.
Yeah, they can save $5. Yeah.
Codes.
There you go.
Which is a 15% savings, a pretty good savings. I know, a lot of places they do free shipping, and that's fine. But we wanted to really knock it out of the box and give people a great savings. So, Paul or Pastor Paul, any of those, they'll save $5 a coin. And in the next week, we're getting ready for Christmas. We're going to have a beautiful velvet box. If someone wants to give this as a gift, it'll be on the website in about a week, and they can add it for a few extra dollars. They can add this box and give it as a gift, because a lot of people were asking about that. So that'll be available also.
Colin, okay, so there you go, folks. Get the Trump coin. get the Trump coin for a Christmas gift. Give it to some of your family members. It'd be a great conversation piece, a lot of fun. Colin, people are in a process right now retiring. They're retiring. They got the 401k. Some folks have just gotten their inheritances, and now they don't know what in the world to do, where to put it, how to diversify it. They don't even know where to turn. Can you help? Can you guys at Noble Gold Investments, can you help people in this situation?
Absolutely, yeah. So we do. If someone's looking to back their IRA with gold or silver or platinum, palladium, we can absolutely help them with the paperwork. If they have an old 401k that they forgot about, and they're working at a new job and they want to move that old 401k into gold or silver, we can help them. Anybody that's looking to get out of the banks or diversify some of their holdings, which is really the name of the game. When you have such tremendous gains in the stock market, you may want to take some of that profit off the table and move it into something, as we mentioned, is at a very low point. So we can definitely help anyone with any of those needs. Or if they just have some money in the bank and they want to get it into something physical and have that gold sent to their doorstep because they don't trust the banks and they just feel like they want to be protected, we can help them do that also. And all that's going to be private and nondescript, so nobody would know what you're receiving.
So the question is now, the gold, if people do buy gold or silver, they can have it shipped to them,
Yeah.
or you guys can store it for them. Isn't that right?
Yeah, we can store it here in Texas and Delaware or in Canada, anywhere, any of those depositories. It's all segregated, insured. It's better than a safety deposit box. For those that know about safety deposit boxes, there's no insurance. So a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm safe there," but you're at your own risk in a safety deposit box. If the bank goes under or if there's theft, there's no coverage for you. All the metals that we store for clients that want that, they're all insured. They're all segregated. When the metals arrive, we take a photo of them with their account number and we send them a copy so they can actually see the metals that they own. We're the only company in the industry that offers this service. So, we give people that peace of mind, that visual peace of mind that they have metals there. So for anyone that's in any of those categories, we can definitely help them. And we have a full staff that does all the paperwork because, we know people hate doing paperwork and it's time consuming, and we're really good at it. So if that's an issue, just have them pick up the phone and give us a call. We can walk them through the process.
And something else, Colin, I was thinking about that, is people are retiring, people are trying to figure out ways where they should put. There's this. What about cryptocurrency? I mean, the bank's one thing. Cryptocurrency's out of sight, out of mind. But precious metals are something tangible. But what is your feeling on cryptocurrency?
Cryptocurrencies were obviously the news about them was everywhere because of the precipitous growth last year. Bitcoin, the one that most people know about, was up 2,000% last year. So it's you have these kind of unbelievable growth stories. And in terms of a currency, I still do believe, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the show, but I do believe eventually some country will use cryptocurrency as their mode of currency. And the reason I believe that is because it can't get any worse than some of the currencies they've already used. I mean, you look at Zimbabwe, they had, record inflation from 2006 to 2009, where even at the end, before they discarded their currency, they had $10 trillion notes. If they replace that paper money with something like, let's say, Bitcoin, where there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoins ever created, they could avoid that kind of incredible inflation and kind of take the banks out of it. And so I do think eventually there will be a country that will try it. Probably some kind of African country will try it because they're just sick of having some kind of ruthless dictatorship manipulate their currency. So I think that will happen eventually. The technology is there for that to happen. Most people are using everything on their phone anyway. It's very easy to buy things with Bitcoin. I've actually booked a trip on Expedia with Bitcoin. It was very easy. It was exactly like using a credit card. So It's going to come more and more to the forefront, but obviously the governments, they don't want it because they can't control it, and they can't manipulate it. So there's always going to be that backlash with the traditional governments that are in power.
What about the fact that there's other currencies out there like this? Well, I should say they're trying to form. We know the euro, but the BRIC countries.
Nations, yeah, the BRIC nations have tried to create a separate currency, or go to a different mode of trading because they don't want to be tied so to the dollar. They've been talking about that for probably like last 6 or 7 years to go to a different currency. And really, as I said, it comes down to, the U.S. Our currency is the world's currency. And until there's any kind of either dramatic inflation where the world will kind of speak up, or there's some kind of credit crunch here where people don't trust our currency, I don't think that's going to happen. But if those two things were to happen, if our credit were to drop, in 2011, our bond rating went from a AAA rating to a AA rating, and there was some rumblings in our economy. So there was some talk about trading our currency out. But since then, the dollar's been up, and until those kind of catastrophic events happen, I don't really see anything changing our money supply.
Colin, this is Colin Plume, folks. He's with us from noblegoldinvestments.com. You've got some books. You've got a book, Government Lies Exposed. Tell us a little bit about that. It's a free book, too.
That was written by John Williams. He's an economist. I went to Dartmouth, and he's been reviewing government reports on growth, on inflation, on a number of things, all these reports that come out every year. And basically, he comments on the reports and sort of makes it so that people like you and I can understand what these reports say. And the report that we have talks about inflation. And based on the government numbers, if you take out, what they've done is taken out a lot of the day-to-day goods that we buy, like energy costs, gasoline. If you factored all those things back in, and you use the formula that they used when Reagan was in office, Ronald Reagan, inflation last year was above 9% every month, and in September of last year was above 10%. And so our ebook describes why that is, what it's talking about, how we came to those numbers, and I think people will find it pretty fascinating that the government numbers of the 2% or 1.9% CPI inflation are actually just completely false, and inflation is much higher than that.
And also, this book is free. I mean, if people come to your website.
Absolutely. Yep. Some people said we should charge for it, but we're not going to. And it's a free book. It's got a lot of good information in there. So anybody that wants that, they can just hit the link and get it for free. We have a number of, if they want to learn about Bitcoin, we have a Bitcoin guide that they can get. So we have a lot of good educational materials to get people understanding metals before they make a purchase or understanding Bitcoin. So our job really is just to educate and teach people about it, and then ultimately they decide if it's the right thing for them.
Folks, this is why I like Noble Gold Investment. Christian company, family owned, honest people, and they're supporters of our ministry. And the book is free. They have for you to help educate. They'll walk you through if you're new in this arena in your life, the stage in your life, and you're trying to figure out what to do. Why don't you pick up the phone and call them at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. And they'll talk with you. They'll help you. They'll walk you through it. You heard Colin say if you got an old 401k that you changed jobs and you don't, okay, what am I going to do with this? I hate the hassle of trying to roll this over somewhere. Just give these guys a call. Let them help you. Let them put it into silver or gold and tuck it away for you. And the market's going to go up. There's no question. And let me just say to some of the folks who always quote that scripture, in the last days, they're going to throw their gold and silver in the street. You got to go back and read that again. It says, when the day of the wrath of the Lord.
Right.
Okay, so when the day of the wrath comes, even nothing's going to be worth anything, and you're not going to be here if you're saved, okay? You're not going to be here when the wrath of God's poured out. So he hasn't come back yet, So the gold's still good. And the price is going to go up, Colin, because as you said, it's getting harder to mine it. It's got to go up.
Yeah, and I will tell people, even if they don't move an old 401k into gold and silver, there are 35,000 old 401ks that are left in accounts each year. This is just free money. So anybody out there, please, if you left a job, even if you worked there for a few years, you probably got some money sitting there. Go out and find it, move it into an IRA somewhere, and use that money. Don't let these companies just swallow up your money with fees. And it's happening so much. People forget about it. There's just so much money that's left out there. So I urge people, just make sure if you had an old job, check it out, find out if there's some money there. If it's an old 401k, all you need to do is call the provider, like Fidelity. I don't know, there's a million of them, but let's say Fidelity's the one. You give them your name, you give them your social security number and who you work for, and if there's some money there, they'll be able to send it. And I've told this to people, and I can't even tell you how many people I would say 5 out of 10 that have done this have said, oh, you know what, I had 4,000, I had 6, I had 10. I had one guy that had 50,000, which that's mind-boggling to me. But just do it. Tip to the wise. Get out there, make sure that there's no lost money out there so that you can, and it'll help you. Every dollar counts. It'll help you through retirement. So please do that. I highly recommend it.
And folks, let me just say, Colin here, congratulations to him. Expecting twins in the family. Is that right?
Yep, absolutely. It was a shock to all of us, and so we'll hopefully I'll still have some hair on the top of my head once we interview again. But yeah, we got some months here until everything comes, but we're excited and definitely blessed.
It sounds like to me you're going to be working some extra hours there, Colin, and and maybe some of you folks need to go and pick up the phone and buy some of the Trump 2020, because Colin's going to need a little bit of that to help him out.
We'll be busy. It'll be fun, though. It'll be fun.
It'll be great.
Thank you, Pastor Paul, as always. It's always a pleasure. Love being on the show.
It's great having you, Colin. Guys, once again, Noble Gold Investments, Christian company, family-owned, family-oriented. They're supporters of our ministry. They're great people. Give them a call at 877-646-5347 or go visit them at their website at www.noblegoldinvestments.com. Until next time, I'll be right here on The Coming Apocalypse.